Kjo është një kartolinë e Prizrenit, dërnimi e 500 historiket nga qytetet e Kosovës, të koleksionuar nga ish pjesëtar i KFOR-it dhe tashmë profesori gazetarisë, norvegjezi Kenneth Andresen. Ai tregon se si nisi ideja e koleksionimit të kartolinave me imazhe nga viti 1900 deri më 1999 të një vendi të vogël.
I wanted to start a new hobby about 15 years ago, and I was inspired by my own father, who collected postcards from Norway, from his town. And then I thought, since I'd been in Kosovo, I started researching if there were many historical postcards from Kosovo, and I found different sources online, and I talked with some people in Kosovo. And they said that they didn't know anybody else who were collecting them. So I started researching different online auction sites where they, for collectors, where they sell postcards, stamps, everything. And I found that there were quite many postcards from Kosovo. So I started buying them online, most of them. And then I recognized so many places I'd been.
Vizitën e parë në Kosovë e pati para 24 vitesh, për të mos u ndarë më nga ky vend.
I can start telling you about my first time in Kosovo. That was back in July of 1999, when I came as a press and information officer with the KFOR, with NATO. So I arrived in Kosovo a few weeks after the war, after the UN and KFOR entered Kosovo. So then I was there for about 6 months. That was my first time, and since there I've been back many times for different projects and teaching and everything.
Profesori Norvegjez tregon edhe se si arriti t'i blinte në tregun online mira Kartolina.
Except a very few postcards, I was the only buyer. So then I could actually get it for the asking price. So I think most of them varies from, let's say, between 1 and 10 euros, but some are more expensive because they're very rare, like postcards like 100 years old, or if there are only one copy of them, then they can ask for more. Sometimes I try to negotiate the prices.
Në koleksionin e tij, ai veçon disa prej kartolinave më të çmuara.
I think the ones that I like the most are the oldest ones, like say in the time at the end of the Ottoman time and before the time of Yugoslavia. So and there are many special postcards from, let's say, around World War One. Some of them are written by soldiers, and some of them have like beautiful town views with different kind of clothes, and the greetings are sometimes written by soldiers back to Austria or Hungary. So some of them are written in German or in Hungarian, and they also use the military postal system, because they had like military post offices around in Kosovo, and that was used as the quickest way of sending the postcards. So I think those old ones are the most precious ones, because they have a very special history.
Ish oficer shtypi në KFOR, Andresen po planifikon edhe një ekspozitë në Prishtinë me 100 kartolina më të mira për t'i shfaqur në publik.
Yes, actually next year, in my job I'm a professor of journalism or media studies in Norway at the University of Agder, and I've been able to use some of my research time to work on the collection, to both academically, but I also I'm planning a book where to publish some of the best ones, and also hopefully an exhibition in Kosovo sometime, hopefully next year, where we can show the maybe 100 of the best postcards, maybe magnify them so that they are in bigger sizes, and to show the different topics and different towns, and that the exhibition hopefully can be also shown other places in the region, and maybe also in Norway.
Të vështirë për të qenë gazetar, kështu e cilëson Andresen situatën në veri të Kosovës për kërcënimet dhe dhunën ndaj gazetarëve gjatë raportimit të lajmeve.
You're right. It's a very concerning situation. And especially since my research has very much been about journalists, their working conditions, their freedom of expression or limits and persecution of journalists. I see that it is a dangerous situation to be a journalist, and there have been attacks, there have been threats, and I think the situation, how it has escalated over the last few weeks, but also over the last few years, it's been tougher to be a journalist. And even though press freedom and the statistics are positive, you see that there are quite many instances of threats against Kosovo journalists in the north. And I researched both Albanian and Serbian journalists, and I know that although some of them can be linked to, let's say, politics, there are also very many journalists who really want to do a good job and want to be independent, and some of them are very brave. But I'm very concerned about the situation for especially covering that kind of conflict, because it's a complex situation. But there are many young journalists who we need them to report, but it's hard. I just wish that the international media was more concerned also. Some of them report, but there are not very many international journalists now. I think they should cover this situation more, because it's very important what's going on now.
Si ekspert I konflikteve, profesori norvegjez analizon edhe ngjarjet e fundit mes Serbisë dhe Kosovës.
The continuing bad situation in Serbia and Serbian politics is a major reason. I think the situation in northern Kosovo becomes a political, let's say, political issue that can be used and abused both domestically in Serbia, but also it's a danger it can happen in Kosovo. It's a trend to have a more isolation politics in Kosovo. So I think it needs to get back on a track where kind of international cooperation, to open for more international cooperation, but also to stand back from some of the rhetorics now, because it is very difficult. I think Kosovo, the current Kosovo government also needs to realize that we all need international friends and alliances to solve this.